Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. A pleasure to have you back for episode 2 of Win, Lose or Draw, and it's so hot so let's not waste any time and get stuck into the video. Yep, episode 2 of Win, Lose or Draw is here, and first we have to take a look back at how we did in week 1. Now I did okay, I got 4 correct results. They were correctly predicted, as you can see from the table, that Brentford, Charlton and Blackburn would all win, and I also got that there would be a draw in the Nottingham Forest Sheffield Wednesday game. Thank you to Connor Wickham for his late equaliser, earning me an extra point there. Meanwhile, you guys on Twitter, you've got work to do. There's room for improvement, shall we say, but the first week was always going to be the hardest. You guys predicted that Swansea and Charlton would both win correctly. Meanwhile, the wheel, you're being beaten by the wheel. You got 3 points predicting that Swansea and Charlton would also win, and they got that point for predicting that Cardiff would beat Leeds 2-0. They got the job done in South Wales, and the wheel saw it coming. I didn't and you didn't, but the wheel did, and that's the beauty of the wheel. You don't know what's going to happen. Now today's going to be a bit of a defining week, I think, and the reason I think that is that because I have only picked the same result as you on 3 of the 10 occasions. There's so much room for change. So let's get stuck into the predictions. Going to do it slightly different this week. Your prediction will follow my prediction for each individual game rather than waiting until the end. But the first game and this weekend sees the top 4 play each other in the Championship. Friday night football is Brentford versus West Brom. What a game. Huge in deciding who goes up to the Premier League. Now West Brom looked a bit stagnant last week. They just couldn't find the breakthrough against Birmingham in that 0-0 draw. Meanwhile, Brentford, phenomenal, beating Fulham away in that a huge London derby in the playoffs. They're still 4th, but they've closed the gap, and they did brilliantly against Fulham. Ben Rama scored that late goal, of course. There's 7 points between Brentford and West Brom now. The gap could close here to 4, but I'm going to sit on the fence. I think West Brom will improve, but I'm going to say it's going to be a draw. Meanwhile, you guys on Twitter, 40% of you, as you can see here, thought that the home side would win and that Brentford would get the job done again. And if they do, I really like Brentford this season, so I can see why you've voted for them. If they get this done, not just the title race in the Championship, both promotion places are up for grabs. We'll move on to Leeds Fulham later, but this is going to be huge. You've gone for Brentford. I have gone for a draw. And we'll wait until the end of all the fixtures to see what the wheel thinks. You have to stick around to see that. Moving on to Preston v Cardiff next. And before we do that, can I ask you to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're liking this Football League content. I'm enjoying doing it. Please leave any feedback down below, but the subscribers really help, the likes really help. Let me know what you guys like. But Preston Cardiff, whew, this is another huge game. It's 6th versus 7th. Preston got a point at Luton last weekend, and we've already mentioned the wheel predicting Cardiff to beat Leeds. What a comeback for them. What a return to glory. Come on, Cardiff, you're flying. The playoff places are within your reach. Now, during that Cardiff win, there were those lovely touching tributes to Peter Whittingham, but there were also some great performances in that Cardiff side. Standout for me was Alex Smithies in goal. I thought he was incredibly solid, and I think it could be a case of more of the same for Cardiff here, which is why I'm going for an away win, and I'm predicting Cardiff to get the job done here and overtake Preston into the playoff places. You guys, meanwhile, you disagree with me again. I told you this would be an episode where we disagree. 67% of you, that's quite a hefty majority, think that the home side will win and Preston will fend off Cardiff for another week. Swansea Luton now, and this is one of the easier ones to predict, you would think, wouldn't you? And I think this is going to be fairly straightforward. Look at what Swansea did to Middlesbrough last week. 3-0. I know Middlesbrough were poor and led to the sacking of Jonathan Woodgate, but Rhian Brewster was brilliant in front of goal. I'd like to see more of that from Swansea. I think they'll have enough to get past Luton, and you guys agree with me. 62% of you think that Swansea will beat Luton, so we're on the same side here. Barnsley versus Millwall next. Barnsley getting all 3 points at Loftus Road. That was huge for them as they try and get out of the relegation zone. They'll need more performances like that. Meanwhile, Millwall also need wins to keep up their playoff push. Millwall lost, of course, 3-2 to Derby in that thrilling game, and 3-2 makes it seem like it was a close game, but really I think Derby were streaks ahead of them on the day. Millwall got that late goal to close in the score gap, but here it's another tricky one. I'm predicting another draw here. Meanwhile, you guys, you're back in Millwall, you're back in Gary Rowett's men. 48% of you think that they'll get the job done at Oakwell. On to Stoke versus Borough and the return of Neil Warnock. I can't wait. He is back. He's going to visit Stoke and Michael O'Neill. Quite a tough game to start off with. Stoke drew 1-1 with Reading last time out. That is the only form we can go off, of course. We can't judge anything pre-lockdown, in my opinion. But Borough were just awful against Swansea. I'm expecting a bit of a rocket up the arse here from Neil Warnock. That's why I'm going for a Borough win. You see that often with a new manager bounce, so I'm going for Middlesbrough to win this one. Meanwhile, you guys were disagreeing again. 50% you think this one will be a draw, sitting on the fence, you guys, this time, which is good to see. I mean, 18th versus 21st. I don't think there's a lot between the squads. You guys have gone for a draw. I've gone for a Borough win. 17th versus 8th up next. Wigan versus Blackburn. Two sides who got off to flying starts last week. Wigan, of course, beat Huddersfield 2-0 away. It was a great performance from Paul Cook's men, you've got to admit. Meanwhile, Blackburn came from a goal down to beat Bristol City 3-1. Tony Mowbray working his magic there. Adam Armstrong on the score sheet as well, and I mentioned him last week, one of the top Championship players in my opinion. I think he's been impressive and he can still improve, but here it's a very tricky one. I have gone for Blackburn, and I think a theme through this is I've picked quite a few away wins just because I don't think there's any home advantage here. Meanwhile, you guys disagree with me again. 53% of you believe that Wigan will win and Paul Cook will make it back-to-back wins in the league. All right, let's get on to another massive game. Leeds versus Fulham. Bielsa versus Scott Parker. Another huge game at the top. If Leeds lose this, they are in danger of slipping away once again. Who would have believed that? It was 2-1 to Fulham in the reverse game, which will give them hope, but stopping Mitrovic is just the key for Leeds here, and I'm going to back them again. It might be regrettably, but Leeds, I believe in Leeds. I believe in Bielsa. I think they'll get promoted, and I think they'll win this game. You guys agree with me. 59% of you believe that Leeds will win this game. We all back Leeds again, or at least I do and you do. We'll have to see what the wheel thinks later on. 19th versus 13th, Charlton take on QPR. Charlton with that important win over Hull last week to give them a chance of survival, and they'll be feeling pretty good, I think, about themselves. QPR lost at home to Barnsley, so they won't be feeling good about themselves. I think they were very rusty on first glance, but I think they'll improve here. I do. I think Mark Warburton will get those attacking players going, have a bit more fluidity. I think they can cause Charlton problems, but I think Charlton are pretty resolute and determined. So again, I have picked a draw. You guys, you back Charlton, you back Lee Bowyer, and I like it. I do like Charlton. I liked Charlton last week. This week, I think QPR will be a bit more of a challenge than Hull were. I think Hull are a really poor side now, actually. But yeah, QPR, Charlton, a draw. Bristol City pushing for the playoffs. They need to get a result here at home to Sheffield Wednesday. It's 10th versus 15th, and I am backing them to do it. I like Lee Johnson's men. I've said it before, I think they're going to really come close to the playoffs, and I just think Sheffield Wednesday haven't got anything to play for. They're down in 15th, they're not going to get relegated, there's no fans there to push them on. Gary Monk's going to do the best he can. They did okay against Forest, but were outplayed for the majority of the game. I've gone with Bristol City here, but you guys disagree with me once again. 47% of you think that Gary Monk's men will get the job done away at Bristol City, and again, this is what I was saying about how quickly this series can change. You're a couple of points behind now, but the amount of results we've picked differently here, not even on purpose, it could all change in 1 week. You guys could score an 8 or 9 this week. I could have an absolute shocker. But let's move on to the final game, which sees Nottingham Forest take on Huddersfield, and Huddersfield are in trouble here. They're only just outside the relegation zone, and I think Sabri Lamouchi's going to get his men going again. I think they were good, as I mentioned, against Wednesday. They were good for the majority. Joe Lolly was exceptional. I think he's key for them, and I think they'll get all 3 points here. I think Huddersfield are in danger. I like Danny Cowley, but they're not doing anything remarkable here, sliding towards the bottom 3. So I'm going with Forest, and that is in agreement with you guys. 81%. That is a landslide in this series. I think that Forest will come out on top. So that's what we think. Let's have a look what that beautiful wheel thinks. Time for the wheel, and it's Brentford versus West Brom for the first game. Let's get into this one. Very close game at the top of the Championship, and the wheel has gone for West Brom. Now Preston versus Cardiff. It's going to be another close game here, but Preston are going to win it. Swansea v Luton up next, and we're expecting Swansea to win this one, but does the wheel know better? Gone for a draw. Barnsley v Millwall now. Barnsley desperate for 3 points here. Will they get them? Yes, they will. Stoke versus Middlesbrough now. Does the wheel think that Neil Warnock will get off to a winning start? No, it does not. Stoke win. Wigan v Blackburn, two sides that started with a win quite nicely in the first week. And Wigan are going to go back to back here. Now we move on to Leeds, and remember the wheel was the only one to predict that Leeds would lose last weekend. It was right, and it predicts a Leeds win this weekend. Charlton QPR. Charlton want to move away from the relegation zone here, but they'll only pick up a point. Bristol City versus Sheffield Wednesday. Another close encounter here, likely. And the wheel has gone for an away win. And to finish us off with the wheel, it's Forest against Huddersfield. Many people expecting Huddersfield to lose here, but the wheel thinks they'll get a point. So that's what the wheel thinks. So let's have a look at the predictions table. As you can see, we've all predicted Leeds to win. That is exceptionally worrying if you're a Leeds fan. Is that a curse? Who knows? We'll have to find out when they play Fulham this weekend. And at the bottom, as always, you can see the odds. And I don't know what I have done here. Maybe it's the draws, maybe it's the away wins. But look at those odds. Last week I was about the 9,000 mark. This week, 19,618 to 1. You guys on Twitter, you're about the same in that ballpark, 6,000 figure, 6,651 to 1 this week. And my guess is, have I made a terrible error here? Because my odds are even longer than the random wheels. 18,798 to 1 the wheel has got, which means it would be a huge shock if either of us got all of them right. If that happens, I think, we can move somewhere incredibly sunny. But yeah, here we go, guys. You've gone with most of the favourites as predicted. I certainly have not this week. I think there's a few shock results in there. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, there's midweek fixtures next week in the Championship, which means episode 3 of Win, Lose or Draw will be out on Monday. So please stay tuned for that. We can have a good laugh at how badly we've all done once again. But thank you ever so much for watching again, guys. Please do like and subscribe if you're enjoying this series and enjoying my videos. If you're a Football League fan, please stay tuned. I've got loads more content coming up. Press the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. And apart from that, I'll see you on the next one.